Hello and welcome. My name is Anka. Today I want to share about the human gift. This is a blog that I started maybe a month ago. These blogs are me, right? They're these expressive flames that start up and I write about it. But with this one, it didn't finish. And I understand today why it didn't, because that flame had to fully burn through over this period of time. And it finally completed today. And it completed in a kind of, yucky way. I was very depressed and a lot of emotions showed up, like, yes, the regular sorrow and anger and just a very emotional day. Even so, the theme of this blog, it's not a blog, it's the flame, was so clear, and it's just surfaced very steadily. It felt like unbothered. It just like floated through the muck at its own rate. And the theme is the body is finally being protected. Okay, I'm going to unpack that. So, in spirituality, typically, the journey is about mind-heart coherence, right? And the mind is this ego, right? We're trying to align the ego mind construct with the purity of the heart, the love space. And of course, through this journey, there's a lot of deconstruction of the ego, a lot of clearing of I'm going to just bundle it into untruth or misunderstanding or illusion or whatever you want to call it, right? Well, in that process, and even without the process, there's a lot of conflict, right, between the heart and the mind. But these things, like the heart is basically immortal, it's love, it's always here. And then the mind, it's also here, right? So whatever the heart does, and it does a lot of things, and they can be heavy too, because it's love, but where there's love, there's also sorrow, right, and grief. So, and variations of all those. And then the mind, there's the fear and the judgments and the misunderstanding that is creating and the sensitivity that it has. Well, all the action that those two generate, either separate or when they're in conflict with each other, the body feels, right? It's like war that two different nations are fighting in somebody else's territory, basically. So the body takes the burden and the punches from either side. And now there's this consciousness, that the awareness that is rising within. From my observation, it is an ego construct that the awareness has a mechanism to actually overpower, I'm going to call it, the old ego, right, that came about from our upbringing and our conditioning and our environment and so on and so forth. And that does not require an alignment. It's already aligned. And I'm going to come back to this idea. And it's now working in a larger knowing to incorporate the well-being of the body. So the body can have the experience of the soul or the consciousness, right? So that the integration doesn't have to necessarily go through this layered, choppy process that is very time at the mercy of time, right? Time dependent. That's what I mean. And even what is the body? And this is where I started with this blog, that the human gift is just the fact that we are here in the body, having an experience in awareness. This avatar works. What we're doing with it, and how we're creating an experience in the 3D, that's a different story. And the stories and the pulling and the control that happen, that's totally different. But just the fact that the avatar works is amazing, right? We're literally moving. We are spirit in body, in motion, in the most dense form that energy has created. I mean, that on its own is such a gift. But if we now can create from awareness protection of the body, the sensitivity level is so acute, right? And what showed up for me was when this flare up of my old ego, I'm going to call it, moved. And I wanted to say that the depression was created between these two egos, right? The old ego and the awareness ego. But this time, the flare up felt violent. And never before, I never had any awareness of something like this. And I didn't want to make the video because it's like, oh my God, today I'm depressed. I don't want to bring this into the collective. But when I tuned in, it was pretty funny. It was more like, oh, please don't kid yourself. You think that is going to influence the collective? No. The only thing that's going to influence is your own body, right? You're affecting your own body. And it felt very local, right? This whole depression and anger. And the anger was very much pointed towards the physicality of the body. And it felt so small compared to the larger me. And that's why it's like, okay, like that energy, right? It's like, please don't kid yourself. So here I am sharing. But so this gift is twofold. Having the awareness that this is a miracle. And it's so, it's so interesting because when I took my Reiki courses and other healing techniques, right? And they teach it to you so matter-of-factly. These are exactly the energy centers. This is how they work. This is how they connect to the organs. These are the meridians. And it's like, they know how the body works and how it's interconnected to the energy body and blah, blah, blah. And now I understand that I really don't know anything. And I don't know what the body is, because I mean, really, right now, to me, the body is space that is stacked upon space connected to time. But what is time? Time to me is tubular space. And there's basically different types, different formats or shapes of space that are stacked in this linearity, and they come together in this convergence. That is the body for me now. So it's like, yeah, it's a miracle. The fact that I'm here in this form, right? And I think I told you guys before, I look in the mirror, it's like, oh my God, like this is the body? This is who I am here? It's so odd. And even in the darkest, hardest moments of our experience here, and I'm going to call it our mismanagement, misunderstanding of our buttons. We don't have, the manual didn't get downloaded, right? Until now, Because today I have the awareness that, holy cow, now there is a protection. Now there is a layer of automation where violence registers at a different understanding. I can no longer hurt my body even when I'm in my deepest emotion, right? It doesn't quite register. And this new ego awareness, it's almost like it's not even fighting, or it's not trying to do anything to the other ego. It's like that ego is so minute within the 3D space that it doesn't have any significant power to do anything to anything else. But instead of, like, it's so insignificant, it's not even worth to take that ego out for recycling. So it's not worth for me to make a choice. Because if I give in to think that I'm going to make a choice, and it's like, okay, I have to make this choice, so I have to come into in my alignment between my heart and my mind. I have to get into this coherence, and from this space, I'm now choosing. Well, when you're choosing from that very mechanistic process, you're coming from duality, because to me now, this awareness is so aligned to the heart, and it has the body's interest in mind. It's working for the body, because now the body has to live in the same environment, luxurious environment, same as the consciousness. So from that space, when you're being presented with a choice, if the choice is not automatic, it's not intuitive, it's not like, well, obviously it's B, then it's still integrating. But it's not even integrating. It's still arriving somehow, right? Because that choice is knowing. It's like a knowing. It doesn't. The choice is flowing through, so it doesn't give you the impression that you're physically making a choice. Like the other choice, A, is so not even on the same level as B, that it's like, how is this a choice? They're not even the same league. So why am I making a choice? Obviously it's B. Like I don't have to go through a pro-con analysis, right? Like it's B. I can see it clearly. And then the next thing is, oh yeah, it's that. And it's creating this impression that you're flowing through. And there is no debate, right? Us mitigating the conflict, it's trying to come into this alignment that is now just here. Poof. And it's subtle. And again, I'm coming back to this. I will dedicate no attention to the suffering, even though the depression, I mean, it's, if you're not careful, you have to tune in. You have to be in awareness. But I feel like you have to be in awareness if you want to be effective at it. But it's like the awareness is so overpowering that it's like, it's just a matter, like, we're no longer talking months. We're talking this half day, or it'll be tomorrow midday, right? But this space of time that we are in now is so important that half a day is a lot of space, right? So it's like, it's still very much important for me. How I spend that? It's like, do I spend it in that luxury where my consciousness is at, my physical body has to, okay, what I'm trying to say, I guess, is like the level of importance, the level of non-violence is so acute now that everything that is not it, we have the capacity to burn through at a higher level to reach that luxury, homeostasis, at greater speed. Yes. And that is the human gift, because it's almost like we are becoming so independent to what's going on out here. It's like, oh, you're giving me a show with this and you're trying to impress me, right? I was on a roll. Maybe I'll make a separate video on this, but it's like, okay, environment, you're trying to impress me with this drama and this drama and this drama, and you want me to get me out of my luxury of wellness, of mindfulness. You're trying to get me back into a reality that is made up, is constructed from a model, a mind model. And I'm becoming really unimpressed with that show. So the level of control, and it's not control from willpower, it's a self-control from a clarity, this awareness that is like fine, precise, accurate, right? It cares about the breakdown of its frequency to such an extent that it has no longer tolerance to be in a space for longer that is violent. So it will be interesting, because it's almost like the power of presence, again, I don't know how else to say it, is so high that it doesn't even bother to take the trash out to recycling, right? It's like, it's not worth the transmutation. It's like the energy that I'm getting back, it's like, whatever, it's going to transmute at its own time, but I will not invest energy to transmute that. I'm just going to go on and not worry. I'm not going to be impressed. I'm not going to give it any attention. I'm just going to let it complete its flame. It's going to die out on its own. It's going to recycle like nature, like leaves, right? It's going to decay in its own half life, whatever, its own life. And I'm going to move on. The application of this, I mean, I can't wait. And at the same time, I don't care. I'm curious about it, because it's like, oh my God, how is this going to look? And at the same time, it's like, I'll be so ahead. Another thing, like I don't know how time is going to work and how the body is going to be within this time, which is space. I just wanted to share the good news in my shitty day, which now I'm good. I feel like I leveled up, the flame burnt through. It's done. But it's big. So yeah, if you're still here, thank you so much. I hope I haven't lost you, and I'll see you again around. Thank you.